What is meaning? And why has every human who has ever lived felt its pull? This quiet question sits at the center of our lives. It shapes the choices we make. It guides the paths we walk. It softens our fears and brightens our hopes. As you settle into a comfortable position and allow your breath to become slow and gentle, you can imagine this question resting softly in your mind. What does meaning truly feel like? And why do we search for it across all of history? Picture yourself far back in time, long before cities, long before writing, long before anything we would call modern life. Imagine early humans gathered beneath a vast night sky, a sky untouched by light or sound, a sky so rich with stars that it feels almost alive. You can imagine them looking upward, feeling the flicker of firelight on their skin, hearing the quiet wind sweeping across open land. In that ancient silence, they wondered the same things you wonder now. Why am I here? What is my life about? What does it all mean? The questions that stir in your own mind tonight are the same questions that stirred in the minds of those who lived tens of thousands of years ago. Exploring these questions does not just satisfy curiosity. It brings a kind of grounding, a clarity that settles the heart, a feeling of being connected to something bigger than the day-to-day concerns that often fill the mind. When you understand meaning, even a little, you feel more stable, you feel more centered, you feel more at peace. And as you listen, you may notice that this gentle exploration already begins to ease the mind and soften the body, preparing you for a long and restful journey. Meaning is not a single discovery. It is not a treasure hidden in one place. It is something more fluid and more personal. It moves with you. It grows with you. Tonight, you and I will walk through the long story of how humans have searched for meaning across time. From early humans who found purpose in survival and connection, to the rise of stories and rituals, to the birth of philosophy and spiritual understanding, to the insights of psychology and neuroscience, and finally to the modern challenges of finding direction in a fast-moving world. As you listen, you may find that the rhythm of the words begins to settle inside you. You may feel your breathing deepen. You may feel your thoughts slow into a steady, gentle flow. You do not have to concentrate. You do not have to hold anything tightly. You can simply let the story wash over you. This is a journey meant for rest, reflection, and comfort. Imagine the soft warmth of a small fire glowing in the dark. Feel the quiet crackle of its flames. Above you, the stars stretch without limit, a silent ocean of light. The night is cool. The air is still. This ancient landscape becomes a doorway into understanding. For as long as humans have stared into the sky, they have felt something inside them awaken. A sense of wonder, a sense of longing, a sense that life is more than breath and movement, more than tasks and responsibilities, more than survival alone. Meaning is the thread that connects you to yourself, to others, to the past, to the future, and to the deep, quiet awareness within you. Tonight, you will explore that thread, gently, slowly, with a calm that deepens with every breath. As the introduction comes to a soft close, you can allow yourself to drift deeper into relaxation, knowing that the journey ahead will unfold steadily, guiding you through the long human story of how meaning was born, shaped, questioned, lost, rediscovered, and felt in the quiet spaces of the heart. You are ready to step into the first chapter, where the earliest questions began. The first questions. Imagine yourself standing in an ancient landscape, long before anything familiar existed. There are no buildings, no roads, no written words, only the open world, soft earth beneath your feet, the smell of smoke drifting from a distant fire, the quiet pulse of nature surrounding you. In this vastness, early humans took their first steps toward understanding what life meant. And now, as you listen, you can let your breath follow that ancient rhythm. Slow, calm, unhurried. The first questions did not arrive as sentences. They arrived as sensations. A feeling of awe when the sun rose, a touch of fear when darkness returned, a deep, instinctive pull toward other people because together meant safer, warmer, more alive. Meaning began as an awareness that life was fragile and precious. Each moment mattered because each moment could change everything. You can imagine early humans watching the sky shift from day to night, their eyes tracing the arc of the moon, their minds wondering why it changed shape, why seasons turned, why storms came, why fire flickered with such warmth and danger. These observations grew into curiosity. Curiosity grew into questions, and questions grew into the earliest forms of meaning. As you breathe softly, feel yourself slipping into that ancient mind, a mind guided by sensation, by pattern, and by wonder. You stand beside a small gathering of people, their faces lit by firelight, their shadows dancing on stone. One person lifts their head toward the sky, watching a falling star streak across the darkness. Perhaps they felt what you might feel now, a quiet tug in the chest, a sense that the world is full of mysteries calling to be understood. Meaning often begins in moments like this. Moments where something inside you reaches outward, trying to make sense of the unknown. In early humans, this reaching shaped their behavior and their relationships. They noticed that certain plants could heal and others harm, that certain places felt safe while others felt threatening. They learned to track the movement of animals and the subtle shifting of weather. They saw patterns in nature, and those patterns became part of the very first symbolic thoughts. As the fire crackles, you can imagine these early humans feeling a sense of connection to the land. The world was not separate from them. It was part of them. Every sound carried meaning. Every change in the wind suggested something. Every star above seemed like an eye watching over them, or a message waiting to be understood. Even if they did not have language to describe purpose, they felt it. The earliest questions were simple, yet profound. Where do we come from? What happens when the breath leaves the body? Why does life move the way it does? These questions echoed across generations. You can picture children listening to their elders speak in gestures and simple words. Stories formed from observation rather than theory. These early stories were not myths yet. They were explanations based on patterns, emotions, and instinct. Anthropologists believe that the rise of symbolic thinking was a turning point in human evolution. When early humans began creating meaning, the brain itself changed. Connections strengthened, memory deepened, imagination expanded. The ability to wonder gave rise to the ability to plan, to create, to dream. As you listen, you might feel how natural it is for your own mind to drift into reflection. Meaning is woven into your awareness, your thoughts, your memories. It is something your brain is built to seek. Imagine now that you walk away from the fire circle into open darkness. The night is cool, the ground is soft, the stars shimmer in enormous silence. This vast sky made early humans feel small, yet it also made them feel part of something infinite. This tension between smallness and belonging shaped much of what meaning would become. The desire to understand, the desire to feel connected, the desire to know why. Slowly, gently, let that image settle over you. A quiet night, a sky full of questions, a mind awakening to the mystery of existence. This was the birthplace of wonder, the birthplace of meaning. And in your own quiet moments, you continue that ancient search. As you breathe softly, feeling the body becoming heavier with rest, the path ahead opens. You move from the earliest questions toward the first forms of significance, toward survival, connection, and the beginnings of purpose. Survival and significance. Imagine the early morning light spreading gently across an ancient landscape. Soft gold touches the tops of tall grasses. Cool air moves slowly over the ground. The world feels quiet, open, and waiting. In this early light, the search for meaning begins with something simple and deeply human. The need to survive, the need to connect, the instinct to hold close the people who make life safer and richer. As you breathe in gently, you can imagine yourself stepping into that world, each breath steady, each moment unhurried. For early humans, survival was not a distant concept. It was the rhythm of every day. The body needed warmth, food, shelter, and others. Meaning began as an awareness of what kept life going, not through thoughts or theories, but through sensations. The warmth of another person sitting close by, the safety of many footsteps walking together, the feeling of protection in the center of a group. These were some of the earliest roots of significance. Imagine a small band of early humans traveling across open land. The ground is uneven beneath their feet. They walk together, sharing the weight of their tools and belongings. Each person listens for the same sounds: the movement of animals, the shift of the wind, the rustle of distant leaves. They move as one unit because they know that being alone means danger. Being together means survival. And within that survival, something deeper begins to form. A sense that each person matters because each person carries a piece of the group's safety and strength. As you picture this scene, you might feel a sense of closeness in your own body. Humans are social by nature. Our nervous systems calm when we feel connected. Our hearts settle when we feel seen and valued. This was true in ancient times just as it is true now. When early humans cared for one another, they were not only increasing their chances of living, they were creating the first layers of meaning, shaped through affection, belonging, and cooperation. Imagine a young child in this group, their small hand wrapped around the fingers of an elder. The elder teaches them how to find safe water, how to recognize animal tracks, how to understand the patterns of sunlight and shadow. In these shared acts, purpose grows. The elder feels meaning in teaching. The child feels meaning in learning. And the group feels meaning in watching knowledge pass from one generation to the next. Even before language became rich or complex, early humans experienced purpose as the feeling of being useful to others. The rhythm of life required cooperation. People hunted together. They gathered food together. They built shelter together. And as they did, they formed bonds that shaped the emotional brain. Modern psychology tells us that belonging is one of the deepest human needs. It affects stress, motivation, memory, and health. Thousands of years ago, this truth was already being written into the nervous system. People survived by caring, by sharing, by being part of something larger than themselves. As you breathe slowly, imagine the group settling down for the night. A fire crackles in the center. Sparks lift into the air and disappear into the darkness above. Everyone sits close, forming a circle of warmth and trust. The night beyond the fire is vast and unpredictable, but within this circle, there is safety. That feeling of safety becomes one of the earliest forms of meaning. It tells the brain, you are not alone. You belong. You matter. The first emotions of significance were born in these moments. Gratitude when someone shared food. Comfort when someone tended to a wound. Relief when the group returned safely after a hunt. These emotions guided early humans, telling them what was important. Over time, these emotional signals became stronger, shaping instincts, behaviors, and eventually values. Values like cooperation, loyalty, protection, and compassion did not begin as ideas. They began as survival strategies that felt right. As early humans grew more skilled, they began to form memories of what worked and what did not. They recognized that certain actions led to harmony. Others led to conflict or danger. Slowly, the ability to reflect on their own choices began to unfold. Even without complex language, they developed a sense of responsibility, a sense of right and wrong. These early moral instincts were part of the growing search for significance. Picture now a moment when someone in the group becomes injured. Perhaps they sprain a leg or cut their hand while gathering food. Instead of leaving them behind, the group gathers to support them. They carry them. They share extra food. They rest more often. This simple act carries a deep message. Your life matters. You are worth caring for. You are part of us. Acts like these shaped emotional meaning long before philosophy or religion existed. They formed the emotional foundation of purpose. Humans are wired to feel fulfilled when they help others, to feel valued when others help them, and to feel connected when they share moments of vulnerability. These early experiences of significance formed the earliest roots of community, compassion, and mutual purpose. As you continue to imagine these scenes, you may feel yourself relaxing even more. The slow pace of life in these early days has a calming effect. Nothing rushed, nothing forced. Meaning grew naturally through the rhythm of living, through the need to survive, through the desire to protect, through the warmth of being part of a group. Imagine now the sky at dusk. The sun sinks behind distant hills, painting the horizon with soft reds and purples. The group gathers, sharing simple food. Their faces glow in the dimming light. In these quiet, shared moments, early humans felt something that modern psychology recognizes clearly. A sense of belonging can be more powerful than physical comfort. It nourishes the mind. It stabilizes the heart. It gives people the strength to endure hardship. This was the beginning of significance. Survival gave life urgency. Connection gave life depth. And together they formed the earliest shapes of meaning. The knowledge that life is better when shared. That safety comes from unity. That purpose arises when one life supports another. As you breathe softly, imagine lying down beneath the stars after a long day of travel. The night is cool. The ground is firm yet comforting. You hear quiet breaths around you, humans sleeping in a small circle. This closeness brings a deep sense of peace. A peace you might feel in your own chest now. A peace that whispers, you are connected. You belong to something. Your life has value because it is intertwined with others. Meaning, in its earliest form, was not philosophical. It was emotional, physical, social. It was felt in the body long before it was understood in the mind. And as humans continued to grow and evolve, This foundation gave rise to something even more powerful: the birth of stories, the shaping of symbols, the creation of rituals that helped generations understand why their survival and connection mattered. In the warmth of this ancient night, the journey of meaning moves into its next chapter. The stories humans created to explain their lives, the tales that brought purpose, identity, and understanding, the narratives that helped people feel part of something larger than themselves. The fire of meaning begins to glow brighter, and you move gently toward the world of stories and purpose. Stories of purpose. Imagine the night deepening around an ancient campfire. The flames rise and fall in soft waves of orange and gold. Sparks float into the darkness like tiny stars drifting upward to meet the sky. The group gathers closer, their faces warm in the glow. The world beyond the fire is vast and unknowable. But here, within the circle of light, something new begins to take shape. Stories, the earliest vessels of meaning. Before language was complex, stories lived in gestures, expressions, rhythms of sound, and simple symbols brushed into the dirt. A hand moving through the air to imitate the shape of an animal. A hum or chant rising and falling like the wind. A pointed finger toward the moon indicating something powerful or mysterious. These early expressions held the seeds of narrative, and through them, humans made sense of the world long before they fully understood it. As you imagine this ancient gathering, you may notice a similar quiet forming within yourself, a gentle curiosity rising, a calm interest settling in the mind. Humans have always felt drawn to storytelling because stories provide structure. They create threads of connection between events, emotions, and experiences. Even now, your mind may naturally begin to lean into the rhythm, following the soft movement of ideas, the soothing flow of imagery. Picture an elder of the group, someone with a face shaped by age, weather, and memory. They sit close to the fire, eyes reflecting its light, voice low and steady. They begin to tell a story. It may be simple, a tale of a hunt, a lesson about the land, a memory of a time when the group escaped a dangerous storm. But within each story lies more than information. There is wisdom, emotion, a sense of identity being passed down. These stories were not entertainment alone. They were tools of survival. They carried instructions on how to live, where to find safety, how to understand the world. But they also carried meaning. When someone told a story, they shared part of themselves. The teller offered their experiences, and the listeners received them, weaving those lessons into their own understanding. As the elder speaks, the group listens in stillness. Children lean closer. Adults close their eyes, letting the images form gently in their minds. The fire crackles softly. The night air cools. In this shared silence, something powerful happens. A sense of belonging deepens. Everyone feels connected not only to the story, but to each other. This connection is meaning in motion, meaning becoming alive. Over time, stories grew more elaborate. Early humans began to create myths, weaving explanations for things they could not yet understand. Lightning became a spirit. The sun became a guiding force. Rivers became living beings. These myths were not childish fantasies. They were the earliest attempts to create a stable world inside the mind, a world where events had causes and the unknown had shape. Imagine sitting at the edge of the fire as a myth takes form. The elder's voice rises and falls like waves on a quiet shore. They describe a great bird carrying the sun across the sky. or a powerful ancestor who taught people how to find fire, or a gentle spirit living in the trees, watching over the group from above. These stories soothe the mind, offering an emotional structure that turns fear into understanding. Stories helped reduce the anxiety that arises when the world feels unpredictable. Neuroscience now tells us that narrative reduces stress by giving events a pattern the brain can follow. Even today, when you hear a story, your mind relaxes into the flow of it. It feels natural, it feels safe, it feels meaningful. As humans developed language, symbols began to appear. Lines on cave walls, handprints in ochre and ash, carvings on bone. These symbols were the first attempts to capture meaning outside the mind, to preserve it, to pass it forward. You can imagine someone kneeling inside a dim cave, holding a small flame near the wall, tracing the outline of an animal with careful hands. Each stroke is purposeful. Each mark is a message for the future. Symbols brought a deeper sense of identity. They showed that humans were not just reacting to the world, but also expressing themselves within it. A painted animal might represent gratitude for a successful hunt. A spiral might represent the cycle of seasons. A handprint might represent presence, existence, a quiet declaration. I was here. I lived. My life mattered. These symbols slowly grew into rituals. People gathered at specific times to repeat certain actions, to honor the seasons, to remember ancestors, to strengthen bonds. Rituals gave the group a shared rhythm, anchoring them to one another through predictable, comforting acts. When early humans lifted their voices together in chant, or placed their hands on the same stone, or shared food in a specific pattern, they were not only honoring tradition, they were creating meaning together. Imagine one such ritual at dawn. The sun rises slowly, washing the horizon in light. The group stands in a circle, silent at first. Then a soft hum begins, low and resonant, spreading through the group like warmth. The hum becomes a chant becomes a feeling, and that feeling becomes a bond. Every voice joining in says the same quiet truth. We are here, we belong, we share this life together. Meaning deepened through these shared experiences. Stories and rituals provided emotional anchors. They helped people remember who they were, where they came from, and what they were part of. They made life feel coherent, even when the world outside was unpredictable. Modern psychology recognizes this deeply. People find meaning through narrative coherence, emotional connection, and shared identity. These are not modern inventions. They are ancient inheritances. The human mind is shaped by thousands of generations who found purpose through story and ritual. As the fire continues to glow, imagine the elder finishing their tale. The group sits quietly, letting the images settle. The night feels soft. The air feels still. There is a sense of calm in the listeners, just as you may feel now. Stories are a gentle, grounding force. They soothe the mind because they organize experience. They turn chaos into understanding. They turn fear into insight. They turn life into something that can be shared. And as humans moved deeper into storytelling, something else began to awaken. A new form of questioning. A deeper kind of reflection. A desire not only to explain the world, but to understand the nature of truth, value, and existence itself. From stories grew the first roots of philosophy, and so the journey of meaning gently shifts into its next phase. The rise of thinkers, seekers, and questioners. The birth of reflective purpose. The moments when humans began to ask not only how to live, but why. The philosophical turn. Imagine the world many centuries after the earliest stories were first told. Human minds have grown more reflective, more curious, more aware of the patterns that weave through life. Villages have formed. Paths have been carved through forests and over hills. People gather not only to survive, but to think, to wonder, to understand. In this new chapter of humanity, the search for meaning begins to shift from instinct and story into reflection and curiosity. Philosophy begins to awaken. Picture yourself walking through an ancient settlement in the soft glow of morning. You hear quiet voices, the sound of water being drawn from a well, the distant rhythm of footsteps on stone or packed earth. The world feels more organized than it did in the days of wandering bands. People stay in one place for longer periods. They have time to think, time to look inward, time to question the nature of life itself. The earliest philosophers did not sit in quiet rooms with books. They walked through forests, across deserts, along riverbanks, and through crowded markets. They observed life as it unfolded around them. They noticed how people reacted to joy and sorrow, how they struggled with fear, how they searched for happiness. They watched the patterns of nature, the movement of stars, the consistency of seasons, and slowly they began to ask deeper questions. Why do people suffer? What makes a good life? What is the nature of reality? What does it mean to be a person? Why is there something instead of nothing? These questions were different from the myths that came before. Myths offered explanations through story. Philosophy sought explanations through thought, reason, and introspection. You can imagine the first philosophers sitting beneath a tree at dusk, watching the last light fade from the sky, letting their minds drift toward these larger mysteries. In ancient Greece, thinkers like Heraclitus walked alone along riverbanks, reflecting on how everything changes and nothing stays still. In ancient India, sages sat in quiet forests, exploring the inner world through meditation and awareness. In ancient China, wise observers contemplated harmony, balance, and the importance of living in tune with the natural flow of life. Each culture produced its own thinkers. Each thinker shaped their own understanding of meaning. Yet across all these places, the longing was the same, the longing to understand what makes life worthwhile. Imagine sitting with one of these philosophers. The air is warm. A gentle breeze moves through tall grass. The light is soft, settling into evening. They speak calmly, thoughtfully, their voice slow and steady. They do not give answers immediately. Instead, they ask questions, questions that guide you inward. What do you value? What do you seek? What brings you peace? Where do your choices lead? They invite you to explore your own mind, to become aware of the deeper layers of your thoughts. This is where philosophy becomes powerful. It takes the external search for meaning and turns it inward. It encourages people to look at the structure of their beliefs, the patterns of their behavior, the emotions that rise and fall like tides. It teaches that meaning is not only found in stories passed down, but also in the quiet understanding that grows from reflection. As you breathe slowly, imagine following a philosopher through an ancient marketplace. The smell of baked bread fills the air. People walk between stalls carrying baskets of fruit and grain. Children laugh as they chase each other through narrow alleys. Life is busy and colorful. But the philosopher watches with a quiet, attentive gaze. They notice how people speak to one another, how they argue, how they help, how they become frustrated or joyful or afraid. They see patterns in these small moments that others overlook. Meaning, they realize, is woven into behavior, into choices, into the way people treat one another, into the values they hold without realizing it. Philosophy begins to uncover these deeper layers, inviting people to examine what they truly believe about the world. Imagine now a philosopher in a distant desert region, sitting beneath the shade of a lone tree. The land stretches out in every direction like a great golden sea. The sky is clear, vast, and quiet. Here, introspection deepens. Questions about the nature of the soul, the purpose of suffering, and the essence of existence fill the mind. In the stillness of this desert, the thinker discovers something important. Meaning does not depend on the environment outside. It grows from awareness within. As psychology would later confirm, humans create meaning not only from what happens to them, but from how they interpret what happens. The mind is a storyteller, a philosopher, a meaning maker. These early thinkers began to see this truth long before science had words to describe it. Imagine traveling to ancient India, where thinkers considered the nature of the self. They asked whether the self is fixed or changing, whether meaning comes from desire or freedom from desire, whether the mind is a mirror reflecting the world or a sea creating its own waves. Their reflections formed some of the earliest explorations of consciousness, introspection, and personal purpose. Now imagine walking through ancient China, where thinkers contemplated harmony and balance. They found meaning in the natural flow of life, the steady changing of seasons, the quiet strength of simplicity. To them, meaning was not something to be chased. It was something to be aligned with, something that arose when one lived gently, attentively, and sincerely. Each philosophical tradition offered something different, yet they all contributed to the same human search. A search for clarity, for balance, for understanding. You can feel that same quiet quest inside you now, settling like a soft weight behind the chest. Philosophy is not distant or abstract. It is a reflection of the inner workings of every human mind. As the centuries passed, philosophy grew richer. Thinkers debated the nature of happiness, the structure of society, the importance of virtue, the meaning of truth. They wrote their ideas in scrolls and clay tablets. They shared them in public gatherings. They passed them down to their students, who carried the ideas forward into new generations. Imagine a group of students sitting on the ground beneath an old tree. Their teacher speaks about the nature of goodness, about how a meaningful life is not defined by wealth or status, but by character, by intention, by the quiet integrity that guides choices when no one is watching. The students listen with stillness, letting each idea settle. They are not only learning philosophical concepts, they are shaping the values that will guide their lives. Modern psychology echoes this wisdom. People feel most fulfilled, not when they chase pleasure or achievement alone, but when they act in alignment with their deeper values, when their actions match the quiet truths they hold inside. This alignment creates a sense of purpose that is both steady and calming. Philosophy taught people to look inward with curiosity instead of fear, to question with openness instead of judgment, to seek meaning not through answers alone, but through reflection, compassion, and awareness. As evening falls over this ancient world of searching minds, you feel a deep calm settling within you. The philosophical turn brought humanity a new kind of meaning, a meaning built through thought, reflection, and self-understanding, a meaning that continues to shape your own inner world even now. And yet, as powerful as philosophy became, humans continued to seek something beyond reason, something that touched not only the mind, but the heart and spirit, something that reached into the mysterious, the sacred, the unseen. This longing led to the next great chapter in the human journey toward meaning, the rise of spiritual understanding, rituals of the soul, and the search for the sacred. Spiritual meaning. Imagine the world growing even more complex as humanity continues to evolve. People gather in larger communities. Villages become towns. Traditions deepen. Stories grow richer. Yet even with philosophy guiding the mind, something within the human heart still longs for a deeper connection. A connection to the unseen, to the mysterious, to the sacred. This longing draws humanity towards spirituality, a search not just for understanding, but for presence, belonging, and transcendence. Picture a quiet morning in an ancient valley. Mist clings to the earth like a soft blanket. The first rays of light stretch across the horizon. You can imagine a small group of people standing near a sacred tree or a cluster of stones worn smooth by time. Their eyes are closed. Their hands rest gently at their sides or over their hearts. They breathe slowly, as if synchronizing their bodies with the calm rhythm of the land. In these simple moments, the earliest forms of spiritual meaning took shape. A moment of stillness, a moment of reverence, a moment of feeling part of something larger. Spirituality began as a recognition that the world was filled with forces beyond human control. Storms, rivers, mountains, stars, birth, death. These events carried a power that early humans felt deeply. They sensed that life was connected to something timeless, something that moved silently through the natural world. When they stood beneath a towering mountain, they felt awe. When they held a newborn child, they felt wonder. When they watched the moon change shape, they felt a rhythm that spoke to the cycles within themselves. You might feel a similar quiet wonder now, that soft awareness that rises when the world feels vast and you feel somehow part of its unfolding story. As humans reflected on these experiences, they began to form early spiritual beliefs. Nature became sacred, certain places became holy, certain moments became meaningful beyond explanation. The sunrise was no longer just light, it was a sign of renewal. A river was no longer just water, it was a source of life. Fire was not only warmth, it was transformation. Imagine sitting beside an ancient river, its surface shimmering with gentle motion. Early humans believed rivers carried messages. They believed mountains held spirits. They believed the breath of the wind was alive. These beliefs were not childish or primitive. They were poetic ways of understanding existence. They were emotional truths expressed through symbolic language. Spiritual meaning gave people comfort, guidance, and a sense of belonging to the world around them. As groups grew larger, spiritual practices became more organized. Rituals emerged that were shared across entire communities. You can imagine hundreds of people gathering for the turning of the seasons, the air buzzing with soft chants, the scent of incense rising in twisting lines, the ground beneath their feet vibrating with the rhythm of drums. These rituals created a shared emotional experience that connected everyone in a circle of meaning. When people lifted their voices together, something powerful happened. The boundaries between individuals softened. Each person felt the presence of others. This shared presence brought a deep sense of safety, a sense of unity, a feeling that life was not just personal, it was collective. Rituals shaped emotional memory. They taught the body what belonging felt like. Modern neuroscience helps explain this. Rituals activate the brain's circuits for connection, reward, and emotional regulation. They calm the nervous system, they strengthen bonds, they anchor identity. Long before science understood these mechanisms, humans knew them through experience. As spirituality evolved, people began to imagine forces beyond the physical world. Spirits, ancestors, gods, and divine beings entered the human story. These ideas were not about control, they were about meaning. Humans sought beings who could explain existence, who could offer comfort in grief, who could guide them through uncertainty, who could reflect their highest hopes and deepest fears. Imagine yourself entering an ancient temple carved from stone. The air is cool, the space is quiet. Light streams through an opening above, illuminating dust that floats gently like tiny golden stars. You can feel the hush around you, a silence that invites contemplation. People once entered this space to speak in whispers, to pray, to grieve, to give thanks. In these moments, spirituality offered something philosophy could not. It offered emotional closeness. In spiritual traditions across the world, humans found comfort in the idea that they were known, loved, watched over, not alone. These beliefs created a powerful internal experience of meaning, a sense that one's life had value not only through action, but through existence. Modern psychology recognizes that this experience, feeling unconditionally valued, is a strong predictor of well-being. Imagine now a person sitting alone at the edge of a field, their hands folded, their eyes closed. They pray or meditate or simply breathe. Their thoughts drift toward a sense of presence, not necessarily a presence with a name or form, perhaps just a feeling of stillness, a connection to something quiet, vast, and peaceful. This inner experience is one of the deepest forms of spiritual meaning, the awareness that the mind can open into stillness, that the heart can soften into peace. Many ancient traditions discovered this through the meditation, contemplation, or simple observation of the natural world. People realized that meaning did not only live in stories or rituals, it could be felt directly in silence, in breath, in awareness, in the quiet space within the mind where all thoughts dissolve and only presence remains. In those moments, meaning becomes an experience rather than an idea, a feeling that life is connected, that existence is sacred, that the self is part of something far larger than its own concerns. This feeling can be gentle and steady, like a soft light filling the chest. It can bring calm, acceptance, gratitude, a sense of being held by the world. As spiritual traditions grew more complex, they gave rise to religions, each offering a structured path toward purpose. Sacred texts, teachings, moral codes, communities bound by shared belief. Religion shaped civilizations. It shaped art, law, philosophy, and daily life. It gave people a framework for ethics, compassion, and responsibility. It provided stories about creation, destiny, and the afterlife. It offered answers to some of the deepest human questions. But beyond its structures, the deepest purpose of spirituality remained the same: to help humans feel connected, to help them navigate suffering, to help them find hope, to remind them that life is more than tasks and worries. It is part of a larger unfolding. Spiritual meaning also shaped the experience of death. Early humans feared death not only because it ended life, but because it ended meaning. Spiritual beliefs softened this fear. They offered continuity. They offered the comfort of ancestors watching over the living. They offered rituals for grief that helped communities heal. Psychological research now shows that rituals reduce emotional pain by giving structure to grief. Ancient humans discovered this long before anyone understood why it worked. You can imagine a funeral ritual thousands of years ago. A group gathered around a resting place. Soft songs rising into the air, voices trembling with grief and love. The community stands together, each person holding a fragment of the meaning the lost one carried. Through this shared mourning, they reaffirm that meaning does not disappear with death. It echoes through memory, through story, through the lives left behind. As centuries passed, spiritual traditions diversified. Some emphasized compassion, others emphasized discipline. Some searched for truth in stillness, others searched for it through praise and worship. But at the heart of all traditions remained a simple truth. Humans seek meaning because they seek connection. To themselves, to others, to the world, to the unseen forces they sense but cannot fully grasp. Now imagine yourself walking through a forest at dusk. Soft light filters through the trees. The air is cool, carrying the scent of earth and leaves. You stop for a moment, listening to the quiet rustling around you. In this stillness, you sense something subtle, a presence that is not outside of you, but also not entirely within. A gentle awareness that the world is alive in ways beyond understanding. This feeling is the essence of spiritual meaning, a quiet recognition of beauty, mystery, and interconnectedness. This spiritual layer of meaning adds depth to life, but the human search does not end here. As humanity moves forward, new questions arise. Questions about motivation, identity, purpose shaped not by gods or spirits alone, but by the inner workings of the human mind. The journey shifts once again, moving from the realm of the sacred into the realm of psychology, where modern understanding reveals how meaning grows within the self. The psychology of purpose. Imagine the world moving into a new era. Human communities grow wider. Knowledge grows deeper. People begin to observe not only the stars or the seasons, but their own thoughts, behaviors, and desires. As spirituality offers connection to the sacred, psychology begins to reveal the inner landscape of purpose. The search for meaning shifts inward, into the mind itself, where motivations rise, identities form, and values guide the quiet choices that shape a life. Picture yourself walking along a gentle path at sunrise. The air is cool, filled with the soft scent of earth and morning light. As you walk, you become aware of your own inner world, your thoughts moving like slow ripples, your emotions shifting like soft currents beneath the surface. Psychology begins here, with awareness, with the recognition that your mind carries its own patterns, its own stories, its own sources of purpose. Modern psychology tells us that humans are not only driven by instinct or tradition, we are guided by deeper needs. Needs for autonomy, connection, competence, and meaning. These needs shape the direction of our lives from the moment we first learn to walk. You can imagine an early human child exploring the world, touching bark, tasting berries, feeling the warmth of the sun. That curiosity, that desire to understand, that spark of independence is part of the psychological foundation of purpose. As you move along the path in your mind, imagine how meaning grows with you. A child feels purpose in learning. A young hunter feels purpose in helping the group. A mother feels purpose in caring for her child. A healer feels purpose in easing pain. Psychology reveals that purpose often begins with usefulness, with the feeling that your actions matter to someone else. This creates a deep sense of fulfillment, a sense that your life contributes to the lives around you. Modern psychological research confirms this. People feel most alive when they believe they are making a difference, even in small ways. The mind is wired to feel rewarded when it acts in alignment with its values, when it protects, when it learns, when it helps. Even today, your brain releases calming chemicals when you do something meaningful, helping someone, learning something new, creating something beautiful, acting with intention. These moments feed your sense of purpose. Imagine now a person sitting quietly beside a still lake. Their reflection shimmers on the water. They place a hand over their heart, breathing slowly. They begin to think about who they are, what they love, what they fear, what they hope for. In these quiet inner reflections, purpose becomes personal. It grows from the inside outward, shaped by experiences, memories, and the quiet truths the heart carries. Psychology teaches that purpose often emerges from three places. First, from identity, the understanding of who you are. Second, from values, the principles that guide your decisions. And third, from goals, the direction you choose to walk in your life. Identity forms slowly over time, through experience. Values form through what brings you peace or discomfort, what feels right or wrong. Goals form when you envision a future that aligns with your deeper self. Imagine yourself sitting beneath a tree. You feel your breath rising and falling. You feel the gentle pull of the earth beneath you. You begin to sense your own values. Perhaps kindness, curiosity, courage, peace, creativity, integrity. These values are not abstract concepts. They are emotional truths. They feel right in the body. They create meaning by guiding your choices. Psychology also teaches that purpose is not something you find once and keep forever. It changes as you change. It shifts as life unfolds. Purpose may arise from relationships during one season of life, from creativity in another, from healing or learning in another. The mind adapts, the heart evolves, and purpose evolves with them. Imagine a young adult in ancient times learning a craft, carving wood, shaping stone, making baskets or tools. They feel pride when their skills grow. They feel connected when others rely on their work. This sense of competence becomes a source of meaning. Even today, mastering a skill, creating something with your hands or mind, brings joy because it affirms your ability to shape your world. Purpose also emerges from connection. Humans feel safest and most fulfilled when they feel bonded to others. You can picture two friends walking along a riverbank in an ancient village. Their conversation is simple, their laughter soft. Yet within that friendship lies purpose, a sense of being understood, a sense of belonging. Psychology calls this relatedness, the emotional bond that fuels meaning and steadies the heart. Another layer of purpose arises from facing challenges. You can imagine a hunter tracking an animal for days, navigating fatigue, weather, and danger, or a mother staying awake through the night to comfort a sick child. These moments create resilience. They shape identity. Psychology shows that overcoming hardship deepens meaning because it proves inner strength. It shows the mind that it can endure, that it can grow, that it can learn. As you breathe slowly, imagine the timeline of your own life stretching out before you. Moments of difficulty, moments of joy, moments of confusion, moments of clarity. Each one added a thread to the fabric of your identity. Each one shaped the values you carry now. Psychology teaches that meaning grows through reflection, through noticing how you have changed, through understanding your story as a coherent path rather than a scattered collection of events. Imagine a person sitting at a fire in ancient times, thinking back on their life. They remember the first time they hunted alone, the first time they fell in love, the first time they lost someone, the first story they told their child. These memories shape their sense of self. They realize that meaning is not something outside them. It is woven through their experiences, through the choices they made, through the values they held. Meaning strengthens the mind. It reduces stress. It stabilizes emotions. It increases resilience during difficult times. When the mind understands why it does something, it becomes calmer. Purpose acts like a compass, giving direction even when the landscape feels uncertain. Psychology shows that people with a strong sense of purpose sleep better, recover from stress more quickly, and live longer. The brain thrives when it feels aligned with something meaningful. Imagine yourself continuing along the path. The forest around you becomes brighter. The leaves shimmer in the growing light. You feel yourself walking with intention, each step calm and steady. This sensation mirrors the psychological experience of purpose. A quiet confidence, a steady direction, a gentle pull towards something that feels right. Purpose also grows through imagination, through the ability to envision a future that has not yet arrived. This uniquely human ability allows us to create possibilities, to dream, to plan, to feel motivated by something that does not yet exist. Imagine an ancient builder envisioning a shelter before it is built, or an artist seeing a carving before it appears in the stone. This inner vision is a powerful source of meaning. Purpose, then, is not a single idea. It is a constellation of many experiences. Identity, connection, competence, growth, reflection, imagination. All these pieces work together to form the psychological foundation of meaning. As you walk the path in your mind, you begin to feel the subtle shapes of your own purpose, the things that matter to you, the moments that shaped you, the values that guide you. It all becomes clearer, softer, more grounded. A sense of inner direction rises like a quiet light. And yet, the story of meaning goes deeper still. Beyond psychology, beyond reflection, into the very architecture of the brain, into the circuits that fire when you feel inspired, the pathways that activate when you feel connected, the deeper layers of the nervous system that shape purpose at the biological level. Meaning is not only a story or a philosophy. It is something your brain builds, something your biology responds to, something your neurons weave together moment by moment. As the light grows brighter on the path before you, the journey gently shifts from the psychology of purpose into the neuroscience of meaning, where the brain itself reveals how purpose shapes emotion, motivation, and well-being. Meaning and the brain. Imagine the world becoming brighter around you as you step gently into the landscape of the mind itself. The world outside softens, and the world inside comes into focus. Here, meaning is not just an idea. It is something physical, something alive, something your brain shapes with every breath, every memory, every feeling. As you breathe slowly, you begin to sense the quiet intelligence of your own mind, the silent architecture that has been guiding your sense of purpose since the day you were born. Picture yourself standing in a quiet room, filled with soft, warm light. The air feels calm, still, peaceful. There is no noise, only a gentle hum beneath everything, like the steady beat of a distant drum. This hum represents the activity of the brain, always moving, always adapting, always searching for patterns and meaning. Even in sleep, the brain continues to weave stories, to process emotions, to shape the inner landscape that guides your life. Meaning begins deep within this landscape, deep within the folds of your brain, in circuits shaped by millions of years of evolution. Long before humans built homes or fires or villages, the brain was already learning to connect certain experiences with feelings of purpose. It learned that connection brought safety, that curiosity brought learning, that kindness brought bonding, that accomplishment brought reward. These associations form the neural foundation of meaning. Imagine the brain as a vast forest of billions of trees, each one representing a neuron. These neurons are connected by millions of winding pathways, like trails weaving through the forest. When you experience something meaningful, certain trails light up with gentle sparks, guiding your emotional and cognitive responses. These pathways form intricate patterns, shaping everything from your motivation to your memories. One of the most important regions for meaning lies deep in the center of the brain, in an area called the limbic system. This region governs emotion, motivation, and memory. When you feel a sense of purpose, the limbic system becomes active, releasing chemicals that bring calm, focus, and satisfaction. Imagine these chemicals as soft waves of warmth that calm the body, slow the heart, and steady the breath. Purpose activates dopamine pathways, which give you energy and motivation. It activates oxytocin pathways, which deepen connection and belonging. It activates serotonin pathways, creating a gentle sense of calm. These chemicals do not just influence your emotions, they shape your entire experience of living. They tell the body that it is safe, that it is connected, that it is moving in a meaningful direction. Imagine these pathways like rivers of light flowing through the forest of your mind. When you act in alignment with your values or goals, these rivers brighten. They move faster. They nourish the entire landscape. When you feel lost or disconnected, the rivers slow. The forest grows quiet, but the pathways never disappear. They wait patiently for the next moment of clarity, ready to brighten again. Meaning also lives in the prefrontal cortex, the part of the brain just behind your forehead. This region allows you to reflect, plan, imagine, and make choices. When you think about what matters to you, the prefrontal cortex lights up like a gentle sunrise spreading across the sky. It helps you make sense of your experiences. It helps you align your actions with your values. It helps you envision a future that feels purposeful. Imagine sitting in a quiet place, your hands resting softly in your lap. You reflect on what brings you peace, what brings you joy, what brings you a sense of direction. As you do, the prefrontal cortex begins to glow with activity. It pulls from memory, it organizes your thoughts, it shapes a sense of coherence. This is how the brain builds meaning, through gentle, thoughtful reflection. Another important region is the default mode network. This network activates when the mind is at rest, when it drifts, when it daydreams. It is active when you think about your past, your future, your identity, and your relationships. It is the network responsible for the story you tell yourself about your life. When this network functions smoothly, the narrative feels coherent. It feels stable. It feels meaningful. When it becomes disrupted, the story can feel fractured, confusing, or empty. Imagine yourself lying in a quiet field, looking up at the sky. Clouds drift slowly across your view. Your mind wanders gently, connecting memories, hopes, fears, and reflections. In these moments of natural drifting, the default mode network weaves threads of meaning through your experiences. It helps you understand who you are, what you value, why certain moments mattered, why certain paths feel right. Neuroscience shows that meaning does not come from a single part of the brain. It is an orchestra of many regions working together. Memory, emotion, motivation, identity, awareness. All these systems blend into a symphony that gives life direction. Purpose is not a thought, it is an experience, a biological harmony. So, imagine the brain as a great glowing map. When you do something meaningful, certain regions light up together, forming patterns that strengthen over time. These patterns become habits of meaning, habits of motivation, habits of emotional resilience. Each time you connect with someone, learn something new, or act in alignment with your values, the pathways grow stronger, brighter, more stable. Even moments of challenge shape the brain. When you go through hardship and grow from it, neural circuits reorganize, forming new patterns that reflect your newfound strength. This process is called neuroplasticity, the brain's ability to change and adapt. Meaning grows through this plasticity, through the way your mind responds to experience, through the way it rewrites itself with every step you take. Imagine now a difficult moment from an ancient life. A hunter loses a close friend, a mother grieves, a child confronts fear. In these moments, the brain searches for meaning to soften the pain. It tries to weave the experience into a narrative that brings understanding or growth. Spiritual traditions, stories, rituals, and personal reflection all helped the brain process hardship. They provided structure when life felt chaotic. They gave emotions a place to go. Even now, when someone faces loss, their brain looks for meaning. It tries to understand why the event happened, what it says about life, how it connects to the past and future. When they find meaning, even a small one, their brain stabilizes. It feels supported. It feels grounded. This is why meaning is such a powerful force. It helps the mind make sense of suffering. It helps the heart stay open. It helps the body relax. Imagine stepping deeper into the mind's landscape. You reach a quiet clearing where emotion and logic merge. Here, meaning becomes a bridge between what you feel and what you know. The brain uses emotion to signal what matters. It uses logic to understand why it matters. Together, they guide your sense of purpose moment by moment. This deep biological foundation explains why people long for meaning. It is not optional. It is not a luxury. It is a need woven into the fabric of the brain, a need that shapes your actions, your memories, your identity, your inner world. As you stand in this quiet metal forest, you feel a soft awareness rising within you, a recognition that your search for meaning is not random. It is part of your biology, part of your evolution, part of your nature. Every moment of clarity you have ever felt is rooted in these ancient neural pathways. Every moment of confusion is an invitation for the brain to reorganize. Every moment of insight is a spark that lights a new path through your inner world. And now, as the light in this mental landscape grows even softer, you begin to feel the next layer of meaning unfolding. The emotional layer, the deep currents of feeling that guide your purpose, shape your relationships, and give color to your life. The journey flows gently now, from the brain's pathways into the heart's rhythms, where emotional meaning takes root and grows. Emotional meaning. Imagine yourself moving gently from the quiet architecture of the brain into the softer territory of the heart. This place is not a physical organ alone, but an emotional landscape where feelings rise and fall like waves, guiding you toward what matters most. Here, meaning is not only understood, it is felt. It pulses through your experiences, shaping your choices, coloring your memories, and anchoring your sense of belonging. Picture a calm space within yourself, a wide open field at dusk. The grass moves in slow, rhythmic waves beneath a warm breeze. The sky is painted in soft hues of lavender and gold. You walk forward, feeling the quiet of the world match the quiet within your chest. In this place, emotions appear not as distractions, but as signals. Gentle messengers telling you where meaning hides, where purpose grows, where life feels rich and alive. Emotion is one of the oldest languages the human mind understands, long before stories, long before philosophy, long before complex thoughts. Emotion guided early humans through every moment of their existence. Fear kept them safe. Love kept them close. Awe kept them curious. Sadness taught them to value what they could lose. These emotions were not weaknesses. They were anchors that pointed toward what mattered. Imagine an early human mother holding her child. She feels warmth, tenderness, and protectiveness rising within her. These feelings become meaning. A father watching his family gather around a fire feels pride and responsibility. These feelings become meaning. A young hunter hears the laughter of friends and feels belonging. These feelings become meaning. Emotion shapes purpose long before the mind can explain why. Even now, your emotions tell you what you value. Think of a moment when you felt deep gratitude, the warmth that filled your chest, the softening around your eyes. That feeling pointed towards something meaningful. Think of a moment when you felt awe, standing before the ocean, beneath a starry sky, or hearing music that moved you. In that moment, you felt small yet connected, humbled yet uplifted. Awe is one of the deepest emotional pathways to meaning. It expands your awareness, binding you to something larger than yourself. As you breathe slowly, imagine a gentle wave of emotion passing through you, as soft as the wind moving across the field. This wave is not overwhelming. It is a quiet reminder that every emotion has a purpose, that each feeling carries a message, that your emotional life is not separate from meaning, but intertwined with it. Modern neuroscience shows that emotions shape memory. When something moves you, your brain records it more deeply. Emotional moments become landmarks in the landscape of your life, guiding your sense of identity and purpose. Think of a time you felt loved. That memory still glows. Think of a time you felt loss. That memory still teaches. Think of a time you felt inspired. That memory still pulls you forward. Emotion turns events into meaning. Imagine now a person in ancient times sitting on a cliff overlooking a vast open plain. The wind brushes past them. They watch the sun sink slowly behind distant hills. In this moment, they feel something rising inside. Quiet reflection, wonder, maybe a sense of longing or clarity. These emotions help them understand what they value, what they seek, what they hope to become. Emotional meaning has always guided humans toward their deepest truths. Different emotions shape meaning in different ways. Love creates purpose by connecting you to others. Compassion creates purpose by inspiring you to ease the pain of those around you. Joy creates purpose by reminding you what feels genuinely fulfilling. Sadness creates purpose by revealing what you cherish. Fear creates purpose by guiding you towards safety and growth. Even anger, when understood gently, points toward values violated or boundaries crossed. Every emotion is a doorway to understanding yourself. Imagine standing by a quiet river. You kneel beside the water and watch your reflection ripple gently on the surface. Your emotions are like these ripples. They rise from somewhere deep within, responding to every moment of life. When you listen to them, without judgment, without pressure, they reveal meaning with surprising clarity. A peaceful sigh when something feels right, a tightening in the chest when something feels wrong, a warm glow when something feels deeply true. These sensations guide your choices long before your mind forms words. The limbic system of the brain lights up when emotions carry meaning. This ancient network whispers reminders about what matters: relationships, memories, values, hopes. It tells you when something aligns with your inner self and when it does not. When you feel calm in someone's presence, your limbic system is signaling meaning. When you feel inspired by a particular path, it signals meaning. When you feel an ache of longing, it signals meaning too, urging you towards something missing or forgotten. Imagine now a group of ancient humans gathered after a long day. They sit close together, sharing food, laughter, stories. In these moments of bonding, emotional meaning blossoms. These shared feelings create trust. They create belonging. They create a shared purpose. Even today, moments like this, gathering with friends, sharing a quiet conversation, sitting with someone you love, build meaning more strongly than almost anything else. Emotional meaning also emerges in silence. Think of a quiet night when you lie awake, feeling the soft weight of blankets and hearing the steady rhythm of your breath. In that stillness, emotions rise gently, bringing reflections, memories, insights. This is the mind's way of integrating life, weaving emotional threads into a coherent sense of self. These moments contribute to meaning as much as moments of action. Imagine walking now into a grove of ancient trees. Their branches lift high above you. Their trunks stand steady, shaped by age and weather. You place your hand on one of the trunks, feeling its quiet strength. In that simple gesture, a wave of calm passes through you. That calm is meaning, an emotional reminder that stillness, beauty, and presence nourish the soul. The human brain evolved to respond to nature with a sense of peace. This peace deepens meaning by quieting the mind and clarifying the heart. Emotions are also woven into resilience. When someone faces hardship, their emotional world contracts at first. Sadness, fear, confusion. But slowly, as they process the experience, emotions begin to shift. Courage rises. Acceptance forms. Strength unfolds. This emotional transformation creates one of the deepest forms of meaning, the understanding that you can survive and grow, that you can feel pain and still move forward, that your heart can break and still heal. Imagine an ancient person returning home after a great challenge. They carry new scars, new wisdom, new depth. Their emotions have changed. They see life differently now. This shift becomes meaning, a sign that adversity has shaped them into someone stronger and more aware. Modern psychology calls this post-traumatic growth. Ancient humans experienced it long before anyone gave it a name. Emotional meaning is not only personal, it is relational. When you comfort someone, your brain releases chemicals that deepen connection. When someone comforts you, your heart becomes steadier. These exchanges create threads of meaning that tie people together. A gentle embrace becomes a sanctuary. A shared tear becomes a bond. A simple act of kindness becomes the memory that lives in the mind for years. Imagine now two friends sitting beside a fire. One speaks softly about a loss they experienced. The other listens with full presence. No solutions, no judgments, just warmth, care, and connection. In this moment, both hearts feel meaning, one through expression, the other through compassion. This shared emotional moment becomes a quiet landmark in their inner worlds. The human brain is built for emotional resonance, for empathy, for shared joy and shared sorrow. These shared emotions are some of the most powerful sources of meaning you will ever experience. As you breathe slowly, imagine your emotional landscape spreading out around you like a calm nighttime valley. Soft lights glow in the distance. Each light represents a feeling tied to something that matters. Love, gratitude, awe, tenderness, sadness, hope. All these lights together form the emotional map of your meaning, a map that guides you gently through the world. And now, as the emotional valley opens beneath the rising stars, you step forward into the next great layer of meaning, the cultural layer. The shared traditions, rituals, values, and identities that shape entire communities and give direction to entire societies. Where meaning becomes not only personal, but collective, a shared story woven through generations. Cultural paths. Imagine walking into a world shaped not only by individuals, but by countless generations of people who lived before you. A world where language, traditions, stories, beliefs, and customs form a tapestry that spreads across continents and centuries. Here, meaning is not only something you create within yourself, it is something you inherit, something you learn, something you share with others. Culture becomes a vast river of meaning, flowing through every life, carrying wisdom, rituals, and identities from one generation to the next. Picture yourself standing on a hill overlooking an ancient village. The sun is rising, painting the sky with soft gold. Smoke drifts gently from cooking fires. People move through the village with purpose, gathering water, tending to animals, preparing food. There is a sense of rhythm in their movements, a rhythm shaped by the expectations, traditions, and values of the community. Every action carries meaning, not because one person decided it should, but because it has been handed down through countless lives. As you breathe slowly, imagine walking down into this village. You hear children laughing. You hear the quiet murmur of elders discussing the events of the day. You smell fresh bread baking in clay ovens. You see woven baskets filled with grain, handmade tools hanging from wooden beams, bright fabrics drying in the sun. Everywhere you look, culture reveals itself in small details. These details shape the identity of the people who live here. They shape their sense of belonging, purpose, and meaning. Culture provides a framework, a shared understanding of what is important, what is sacred, what is allowed, what is celebrated. For some cultures, meaning centers around family. For others, around community, honor, or tradition. For others still, meaning is tied to individuality, creativity, or exploration. Each culture creates its own path toward purpose, shaped by thousands of stories and experiences woven together over time. Imagine now, sitting with a group of people in this ancient village. They gather in a circle as the sun begins to set. One elder begins to speak. Their voice is calm and steady. They pass on stories of ancestors, stories of brave actions, of love, of loss, of triumph. These stories shape the group's sense of identity. They teach children who they come from. They teach adults how to live with integrity. They teach everyone what the community stands for. This shared narrative becomes a powerful source of meaning. Modern psychology calls it cultural coherence, the feeling that your life is part of a larger story, that you belong to something older and bigger than yourself. You may feel a gentle warmth in your chest as you imagine this, because even today, the stories of your culture shape who you are. They influence what you value. They guide your choices. They form invisible threads connecting you to your ancestors. Culture also shapes rituals. Picture a festival in the village. Bright colors, music echoing across the hills, people dancing in circles, food shared in abundance, laughter rising like birds taking flight. Festivals bring people together. They celebrate life. They remind the community of its shared identity. These rituals deepen emotional bonds and create memories that last for generations. Even today, cultural celebrations bring meaning through connection, tradition, and shared joy. Now imagine a quieter ritual. A family gathered around a small table at the end of the day. They speak softly, sharing stories of what happened. They light a candle for someone who has passed. They express gratitude for their meal. These simple rituals shape daily meaning. They provide stability. They remind each person of their place in the family, in the community, in the world. Culture also shapes the way people understand emotions. In some societies, expressing feelings openly is encouraged. In others, silence carries wisdom. In some cultures, meaning comes from personal achievement. In others, from fulfilling the expectations of the group. Neither approach is right or wrong. Each reflects a different pathway to meaning, shaped by centuries of experience, adaptation, and collective wisdom. Imagine now traveling across the world in your mind. You walk through a bustling city where meaning is tied to ambition, progress, and personal identity. People rush through streets with determined expressions. They carry the meaning of self-realization, the belief that a meaningful life is one shaped by individual goals. Then imagine traveling to a small mountain village where meaning is tied to family, tradition, and continuity. Children learn old stories. Adults care for the elderly. Festivals mark the passing of seasons. Purpose is found in preserving the wisdom of ancestors. Then imagine crossing oceans to a desert community where meaning is tied to spiritual devotion and discipline. People rise before dawn to pray. They carry their beliefs like sacred threads woven through every day. Meaning here is found in ritual, devotion, and surrender to something greater. Now imagine stepping into a coastal settlement where meaning is tied to nature. Fishermen rise early to greet the sea. Their traditions revolve around tides, stars, and the rhythms of the ocean. Purpose comes from harmony with the natural world. Each of these cultures offers a different meaning system, a different lens through which life can be understood. You may feel a sense of widening perspective, a recognition that meaning is not one path, but many. Culture shapes the possibilities. It gives you tools. It gives you language. It gives you symbols. It gives you belonging. But meaning also evolves as cultures change. Imagine a society facing war or famine. Old stories may shift. New rituals may arise. People adapt their meaning systems to survive hardship. In times of peace and prosperity, new ideas flourish, creating new kinds of purpose. Meaning is something cultures build together, moment by moment, generation by generation. Culture also shapes how people understand time. In some societies, time flows in cycles. seasons returning again and again, life seen as a repeating journey. Meaning comes from respecting the rhythm of nature. In others, time moves in a straight line, pushing people forward toward progress, achievement, and innovation. Meaning comes from building the future. Both shapes influence how people interpret life, purpose, and identity. Imagine now a village elder speaking to a younger generation. They explain the customs that have been passed down. They teach the songs that their grandparents sang. They share the proverbs that hold the wisdom of centuries. These exchanges create a bridge between past and future. This bridge is one of the strongest foundations of human meaning. It tells each person, you are part of something. You come from somewhere. You carry forward a thread that others began. Even today, you may feel the influence of your own cultural heritage, in the stories your family tells, in the rituals you observe, in the values you hold, in the foods, songs, or holidays that shape your memories. Culture gives meaning its texture, its flavor, its depth. But culture is not only comforting, it can also challenge you when you grow beyond certain traditions, when you question beliefs, when you carve your own path. These moments create tension, but they also create growth. Meaning expands when you reconcile your personal identity with the identity of your culture. When you choose which parts to keep, which parts to honor, which parts to redefine. This dynamic exchange is part of the human experience. You are shaped by your culture, but you also shape it. With each choice, each reflection, each act of courage or compassion. As you breathe softly, imagine standing at the center of a wide crossroads. Behind you lies the past, the culture you inherited, the traditions that shaped your early sense of meaning. Ahead lie many paths, new possibilities, new interpretations, new ways of belonging and growing. Culture gives meaning its roots, but life gives meaning its branches. Those branches reach upward, shaped by experience, reflection, emotion, and change. And now, as you stand at this quiet crossroads, the journey moves toward one of the most powerful chapters in the human search for meaning. The moments when everything changes, when adversity arrives, when life becomes difficult, and when meaning deepens through struggle, resilience, and transformation. The path ahead leads gently into the realm of crisis and growth, where meaning is reshaped, rebuilt, and rediscovered. Crisis and growth. Imagine the world around you dimming into a quiet twilight. The air becomes still, and a gentle hush settles over everything. This is the landscape of challenge. A place every human has walked through at some point in life. A place where meaning does not come easily, where it is not handed to you by tradition, community, or comfort. Instead, it rises from the deepest parts of the mind, shaped by difficulty, loss, and the quiet strength that grows in darkness. Crisis is not only an event, it is an experience. A moment when the world as you knew it cracks open, revealing something you did not expect. A loss, a disappointment, a betrayal, a failure, an illness, a sudden change. These moments shake the foundation of meaning. They pull away the familiar pathways and leave you standing in a landscape you have never seen before. Picture yourself in such a landscape. A vast, open plain under a heavy sky. The wind is cooler here. The ground feels unfamiliar beneath your feet. There is a quiet ache in the air, a sense of uncertainty. This feeling is the beginning of change. The mind becomes more awake when meaning is threatened. It begins to search, to question, to reflect. Crisis becomes a doorway to growth, even though it rarely feels that way at first. Imagine an ancient person facing hardship. A storm destroys their shelter. A loved one falls ill. Food becomes scarce. The world grows unpredictable. In these moments, their emotions surge: fear, sadness, confusion. These emotions signal the brain that something important has been disrupted, that the existing map of meaning no longer fits the new reality. Crisis forces the mind to redraw that map. You may feel a soft echo of this within yourself. Those times in your own life when everything felt uncertain, when meaning felt blurry or distant, when you questioned your direction. These moments often mark the beginning of inner transformation. Modern psychology describes 3 phases of meaning during crisis. First, meaning is disrupted. The mind cannot make sense of what is happening. Second, meaning is searched for. The mind tries to understand why the event occurred, what it means, how it changes the story. Third, meaning is rebuilt. A new perspective emerges. A new identity grows. A new path unfolds. Imagine a person in ancient times sitting alone near a fire after losing someone they loved. The flames flicker softly, casting warm light on their face. Their eyes are heavy with grief. Their thoughts move slowly, searching for understanding. In this vulnerable moment, meaning feels distant, but grief itself is a form of meaning. It reveals the depth of love. It shows the value of what was lost. It connects the heart to the importance of relationships. Grief is not the absence of meaning. It is the echo of meaning. As days pass, the person begins to speak with others in the group. They share memories. They share tears. They share silence. This sharing becomes a ritual of healing. The brain begins to weave new emotional pathways. The pain slowly transforms into gratitude, into strength, into wisdom. Over time, the loss becomes part of the story, not its end. Meaning grows through this transformation, the kind of meaning that can only be born from struggle. Now imagine a different kind of crisis. A young adult in an ancient village feels unsure of their path. They do not know whether to follow the craft of their parents or pursue their own interests. They feel lost, stagnant, out of place. This crisis is quieter, but no less important. It signals that the old identity no longer fits, that the mind is ready to grow into a new sense of self. Modern psychology calls this an identity crisis, a period where confusion becomes the soil of personal growth. The mind begins to explore new possibilities. It begins to question old values and form new ones. This questioning is uncomfortable, but it is essential. Purpose deepens when you examine who you truly are, not who you were taught to be. Imagine the young adult walking alone at twilight, reflecting on their desires. They touch the bark of an old tree. They listen to the distant call of birds. Slowly, they begin to feel a pull towards something new, a craft, a friendship, a curiosity. That pull becomes the beginning of a new path, a new purpose forming in the quiet spaces of uncertainty. Crisis also reveals inner strength. Picture a person facing a great challenge, defending their community, surviving a harsh winter, rebuilding after a disaster. They feel fear, but they act anyway. They discover courage they never knew they had. Meaning grows in these moments because the person learns something powerful about themselves. Modern neuroscience shows that resilience forms through action. When you face difficulty, the brain rewires itself. New pathways for strength, patience, courage, and hope emerge. The next time a challenge appears, those pathways activate more easily. Resilience is learned, built, strengthened. This growth forms one of the deepest meanings a person can experience, the meaning of personal evolution. Imagine now that you sit by a river after a difficult season in your life. The water moves gently, always forward, always flowing. You watch it drift past stones, carrying reflections of sky and light. You realize that life flows this way too. Even when obstacles appear, the river does not stop. It reshapes itself around them. This imaging brings calm, acceptance, a deeper understanding of your own resilience. Crisis is not only personal, it is also communal. Imagine an ancient community facing a drought. The crops fail, the river shrinks. People gather to support each other, sharing food, sharing water, sharing comfort. In these moments, collective meaning arises. Community strengthens, bonds deepen, shared hardship becomes shared purpose. Even today, communities find meaning in coming together during storms, tragedies, or challenges. Helping others reduces personal fear. It increases feelings of significance. It reminds people that they are part of something larger than themselves. Crisis reveals the strength of collective meaning. Imagine now a quiet conversation between two elders in an ancient village. One says, "Hardship changes us." The other replies, "Yes, but it also reveals who we are." This simple exchange holds a deep truth. Crisis does not only disrupt meaning, it refines it. It clears away what is unnecessary. It highlights what remains. It teaches clarity. Sometimes a crisis awakens dreams long ignored. A person who loses a job may discover a passion they never had time to explore. Someone who travels through heartbreak may find creativity blossoming in the empty spaces left behind. Transformation often begins where comfort ends. Picture an artist sitting alone after a painful loss. They pick up a tool, perhaps a stone, a brush, or a small piece of clay. They begin to shape something. Slowly, quietly, their pain becomes form. Their emotions become expression. Their grief becomes beauty. In this moment, meaning grows not from joy but from transformation, from turning suffering into something that carries truth. Modern psychology calls this meaning making, the process of reinterpreting experiences in a way that gives them value. It is one of the most powerful healing mechanisms the human brain has. It turns confusion into understanding, pain into insight, chaos into clarity. Imagine now walking through a forest after a storm. Fallen branches scatter the ground, leaves are torn, but new sunlight filters through the broken canopy. New growth begins in places that were once shaded. This is what crisis does within a human life. It breaks open old structures, allowing new light to enter, allowing new growth to take root. Meaning deepens through this growth. It becomes more flexible, more compassionate, more real. A person who has walked through suffering sees life differently. They understand others more deeply. They feel gratitude more easily. Their purpose becomes more grounded, more authentic, more resilient. As you stand in this landscape of crisis and growth, you may feel a quiet recognition rising within you. A sense that your own struggles have shaped you in ways you did not expect. A sense that meaning is not only found in light, but also in shadow. That both joy and hardship contribute to who you are. And now, as the landscape brightens again, the journey of meaning flows forward into another profound realm, the realm of creativity and expression, where humans weave beauty, imagination, art, and innovation into the world, where meaning becomes not only something you feel or understand, but something you create with your own hands, voice, and soul. creativity, and expression. Imagine the world opening into a softer landscape where the air feels light and the mind feels spacious. Here, meaning is not something discovered in the world outside, or even something uncovered through reflection alone. Here, meaning is created, shaped, crafted, expressed. This is the realm of imagination, the realm of art, beauty, music, and storytelling, a realm where humans give form to the deepest parts of their inner lives. Picture yourself standing at the edge of a wide open field in the early hours of morning. Mist rises slowly from the grass. Birds call softly in the distance. The sky glows with gentle colors, as if the world itself is in the middle of being painted. You take a step forward, and as you do, you feel a quiet sense of possibility. This feeling is the first spark of creativity, a soft stirring within the mind that whispers, "There is something inside me waiting to be shaped." From the beginning of human history, creativity has been intertwined with meaning. The first cave paintings, the first carved stone, the first shared song around a fire. These were not simply decorations or diversions. They were expressions of experience, of memory, of fear, hope, wonder, and joy. They allowed humans to take something invisible, an emotion, a thought, a memory, and give it form in the world. Imagine an ancient person kneeling inside a dimly lit cave. A torch flickers nearby, casting shadows that dance across the rough stone walls. With a piece of pigment held between their fingers, they draw the outline of an animal. The lines are simple but filled with intention. They portray strength, movement, life. In this moment, the painter is creating meaning. They are capturing the world as they see it, as they feel it, as they understand it. Art became a way of remembering, a way of teaching, a way of preserving the fleeting, a way of saying, "This mattered to me, this shaped me, this lived inside me." Even today, you may feel a quiet resonance when you create something, no matter how simple. A drawing, a melody, a journal entry, a photograph, a sentence. These acts feed the mind with a sense of purpose because they externalize what lives within. Imagine now a small group of ancient humans gathered around a fire. One person begins to sing. Their voice rises softly at first, then more confidently. Others join in, harmonizing in gentle tones. The sound fills the night like a warm blanket. Music was one of the earliest ways humans connected emotion to meaning. It allowed people to share sadness, joy, longing, and celebration, to feel unified through a shared experience of sound. Music creates meaning by engaging nearly every part of the brain. It activates memory, emotion, rhythm, and imagination all at once. Even now, a single melody can bring tears to your eyes or lift your spirits. It can remind you of someone you love, a place you miss, a chapter of your life that felt beautiful or painful. This emotional power makes creativity one of the deepest roots of meaning. Imagine watching an ancient storyteller standing before a group of people. Their hands move gracefully. Their voice shifts between whispers and strength. They describe the birth of the stars, the bravery of ancestors, the lessons of the earth. The listeners lean forward, eyes shimmering in the firelight. Storytelling is one of the most powerful ways humans create meaning. Through stories, experiences become lessons, events become symbols, lives become narratives, and narratives become guides. You may notice how your own life feels more coherent when you see it as a story, with chapters, with turning points, with characters, with growth. Narrative psychology teaches that people form meaning by shaping their lives into stories they can understand, stories that give direction, stories that explain why certain moments mattered. Creativity allows the mind to shape these stories with clarity and compassion. Imagine now an ancient potter sitting beside a turning wheel made of wood and stone. Their hands shape wet clay into a vessel. Each movement is slow, steady, intentional. They smooth the edges, they carve simple patterns, they place the final piece near a fire to harden. This vessel is more than a tool. It is a symbol of care, skill, patience, and human presence. Creativity brings meaning through the act of shaping something with your own hands. When you create, even in small ways, you engage a deep part of the brain associated with agency and fulfillment. Neuroscience shows that creativity activates reward pathways and reduces stress. It quiets the default mode network when it becomes overwhelmed and stimulates it when reflection is needed. Creativity balances the mind. It gives emotional clarity when words alone cannot. Imagine a child in ancient times weaving a simple bracelet from strands of grass. They choose the colors with pleasure. They twist the leaves slowly. They tie the ends with care. They give the bracelet to a friend, and in that moment, a connection deepens. Creativity strengthens relationships by allowing people to express affection, gratitude, or shared identity through something tangible. Picture now a sculptor carving a figure from stone. Chips fall around their feet. The sculpture emerges bit by bit. A face, a gesture, a form of beauty. The sculptor feels a deep sense of concentration, a calm flow that makes time feel slower and smoother. This is the psychological state known as flow, where creativity becomes a form of meditation. In flow, the mind is fully present, fully absorbed, fully alive. Flow is one of the clearest expressions of meaningful experience. Imagine a poet sitting at the edge of a river, listening to the water move. They write simple lines about the way the river reflects the sky. These lines are not grand or elaborate, but they hold something true, something quiet and significant. Creativity does not need to be perfect. It does not need to be praised. It only needs to be honest. Authentic expression is meaningful because it aligns the inner and outer worlds. Creativity also helps people process emotions. Imagine someone who has endured hardship shaping clay into a bowl, each motion steadying their breath. Or someone who has lost someone painting colors that mirror their grief and hope. Or someone who feels uncertain writing words that help them understand what they cannot yet speak out loud. Creativity becomes a companion through pain, a bridge between suffering and clarity. Now imagine standing in a large ancient community hall. On the walls are symbols painted by countless hands over generations. Spirals, lines, patterns representing seasons, journeys, dreams. These symbols hold cultural meaning. They encode wisdom. They remind the community of its shared identity. Creativity becomes the memory of a culture. Even today, the art you love, the music you listen to, the stories you cherish, all shape your meaning. They move your emotions. They remind you of who you are. They connect you to people across time and space. They place your personal experiences within the larger human story. Creativity also gives life beauty. Beauty is more than decoration. It is a form of nourishment. When you see a sunset or a painting or a simple arrangement of stones, your brain releases chemicals that bring peace and awe. Beauty softens anxiety. It expands awareness. It makes the world feel alive in a gentle, comforting way. Meaning grows in these moments of beauty, where the mind rests in appreciation rather than urgency. Imagine standing at the edge of a cliff overlooking a vast valley. The colors of the landscape shift with the setting sun. The wind brushes past your hair. You feel a sense of awe wash over you, an emotion known to enhance meaning by expanding your perspective. Awe makes you feel small in a comforting way. Small, yet part of something immense and beautiful. Creativity and expression are not luxuries. They are essential parts of being human. They offer clarity when life feels confusing, connection when life feels lonely, inspiration when life feels stagnant, hope when life feels heavy. Through art, music, beauty, and imagination, humans create meaning that continues long after the moment passes. As you walk through this world of creativity, you carry with you a deeper understanding of how meaning is shaped, not only by survival, community, or belief, but by expression, by giving form to the invisible parts of yourself, by participating in the great creative conversation that stretches through all of human history. And now, as this chapter closes softly, the path ahead begins to shift once again. The world becomes modern, fast, complex, filled with noise and choice. The search for meaning changes form, challenged by technology, information, and an ever-expanding world. The journey moves gently toward the next chapter, where meaning must be found in the modern mind, amidst complexity, distraction, and the quiet longing for clarity. Modern meaning. Imagine the world around you shifting gently into the one you know today. Cities rising, lights glowing, screens flickering, voices and messages moving across continents in an instant. The air carries the hum of machines, the pulse of technology, the rhythm of fast-moving lives. This is the modern landscape of meaning, a place filled with possibility, but also with distraction. A place where connection is easy, yet loneliness is common. Where information overflows, yet understanding can feel distant. In this world, the search for meaning becomes both more complex and more personal. Picture yourself standing on a quiet balcony at night, looking out over a modern city. Below you, countless windows glow with warm light. Each window holds a life, a set of hopes, a set of worries, a search for purpose. Cars move along winding streets. Screens illuminate faces inside cafes and homes. Even though millions of people live close together, many walk through life feeling unseen, unheard, or unsure. The pace of modern life can make meaning harder to feel, even as opportunities grow. Take a slow breath. Imagine the noise of the city fading slightly, the lights softening. In the quiet between sounds, you begin to sense the emotional truth of the modern world. People no longer fight for survival in the same way ancient humans did. Most do not gather around fires for nightly storytelling. The village has become digital. Community has become scattered. Rituals have faded, and the mind often becomes overwhelmed by choices, responsibilities, and information. But meaning has not disappeared. It has simply changed its shape. In the modern era, meaning often begins with identity. Who am I? What do I want my life to stand for? What path feels true to me? Unlike ancient times, where culture and community shaped most of a person's purpose, modern individuals must shape much of it on their own. This freedom is beautiful, but it can also feel daunting. The mind tries to anchor itself amidst endless options, seeking clarity in a world that rarely slows down. Imagine walking through a bustling street in the middle of a modern city. People pass by with hurried steps. Some speak into phones. Some listen to music. Some stare down at screens, their thoughts drifting far from the present moment. Each of them carries a story. Each of them carries questions about meaning. Some find purpose in their work, others in their relationships, others in acts of creativity or service. Others still feel lost, searching for something they cannot yet name. Modern psychology shows that meaning becomes harder to feel in environments filled with constant distraction. The mind needs stillness to understand itself, reflection to recognize values, connection to feel purpose. But the modern world often pulls attention outward. Notifications, expectations, deadlines, noise. This creates a tension between inner clarity and outer chaos. Imagine now stepping away from the busy street and into a quiet park. Trees rise around you like gentle guardians. Leaves rustle softly in the wind. People walk more slowly here. Some sit on benches reading. Others stroll hand in hand. The natural world has always been a source of meaning. Even in modern times, the brain responds to nature with calm, clarity, and emotional grounding. This calm helps people reconnect with themselves. It reminds them of what matters beneath the layers of noise. Meaning in the modern world also arises from connection. Friends sharing a meal, families gathering for celebrations, strangers offering kindness, lovers whispering dreams beneath soft lamplight. These moments cut through the noise of daily life, reminding people that purpose is often found in relationships, in intimacy, in understanding and being understood. Imagine two people sitting across from each other in a cafe. One shares a worry, the other listens with full attention. In that moment, the outside world fades. The conversation becomes meaningful. Their shared presence becomes purpose. Even in a world of machines and screens, the heart still seeks human closeness. Modern studies show that strong relationships are one of the strongest predictors of meaning, happiness, and well-being. Work is another source of meaning in the modern era, but it is not the work itself, necessarily. It is the sense of contribution, the idea that your efforts matter, that you are part of something larger than yourself. Imagine a teacher guiding a child through a story, a nurse offering comfort to a patient, a builder shaping a home, a scientist searching for truth, a cleaner ensuring others live in a safe space. Meaning arises when people feel the impact of their actions. Yet modern work can also drain meaning when it becomes disconnected from values, when the pace becomes overwhelming, when people feel like pieces in a machine rather than contributors to a whole. This creates restlessness, a quiet ache, a longing for purpose that aligns with the heart. Imagine someone sitting at their desk late at night, staring at glowing screens. Their mind feels tired. Their heart feels distant. They wonder if this is what their life is meant to be. That question is not a failure. It is a signal. The mind reminding them that meaning cannot come from routine alone. It must come from reflection, connection, direction. The modern world also offers new forms of expression. Digital art, photography, writing shared across continents, music created in small rooms but heard by millions. People use technology to express meaning in ways ancient humans could never imagine. Creativity still lives at the center of purpose, even as its tools evolve. Imagine a musician recording a soft melody late at night. Their room dim, lit by a single lamp. The music carries emotion that cannot be spoken. Someone across the world listens and feels understood. This connection is meaning. Modern culture has created new pathways for creative purpose. allowing people to reach across borders and hearts. But modern meaning also faces new challenges: comparison, social pressure, the illusion of perfection created by curated images and polished stories. Many people believe they must achieve extraordinary things to have a meaningful life. But psychology reminds us that meaning is built from everyday moments: helping someone, learning something, caring for a loved one, creating beauty, growing quietly. The extraordinary is not required. Imagine sitting quietly in your room with soft light filling the space. You place your hand over your heart. You breathe deeply, and you feel a sense of presence. This moment is meaningful, even though it is simple. The modern mind forgets that meaning often arises from stillness, from awareness, from gratitude. Technology also reshapes meaning. It connects people instantly, yet sometimes leaves them feeling more alone. It offers information, yet overwhelms the mind with endless choice. It enables collaboration, yet often steals attention from the present moment. The challenge of the modern world is not the presence of technology. It is the absence of intentionality. Meaning must be chosen, carved, protected. Imagine a person turning off their phone and stepping onto a balcony at dusk. The sky glows with soft purple light. The noise of notifications fades away. In its place rises a soft clarity. This clarity is meaning. A reminder that life is not found in constant stimulation, but in the ability to pause and reflect. Meaning in the modern world also grows through personal values. People must ask themselves what they truly care about, what brings them peace, what brings them joy, what aligns with their heart. These values become a compass in a world of distractions. They help make choices that feel right, even when society pulls in many directions. Now imagine walking through a modern library, shelves filled with books from every era, stories of ancient philosophers, modern scientists, poets, historians. Each book offers a piece of meaning, a voice from another place or time guiding people through the complexity of life. Knowledge becomes a form of meaning. Learning becomes purpose. The modern world also invites introspection. People journal, meditate, reflect, seek therapy, explore their inner world with openness and curiosity. These practices give people tools to understand themselves deeply, to navigate emotions, to articulate their values, to craft their own meaning with clarity. Imagine a person sitting beside a window at sunrise, writing in a notebook. They reflect on their day, their intentions, their struggles, their hopes. This quiet act becomes a ritual of clarity, a moment where meaning rises from the gentle practice of self-awareness. Even amidst complexity, meaning remains possible. It remains powerful. It remains personal. The modern world may feel overwhelming at times, but the human capacity for purpose has not diminished. It has simply adapted. As you stand now in this modern landscape, this world of light, noise, beauty, complexity, and choice, you begin to sense the next horizon of meaning, the future, the unfolding path ahead for humanity, where consciousness expands, where technology changes how we understand ourselves, where the search for purpose evolves with every generation. The journey now moves gently into the next chapter, the future of meaning and the quiet directions toward which humanity is heading. The future of meaning. Imagine the world around you shifting again, this time into a landscape that does not exist yet, a horizon of possibilities, a gentle blend of what is known and what is still becoming. The future of meaning rises before you like a dawn that has not quite broken through, glowing softly at the edges. You stand in this place between the present and what lies ahead, feeling a mixture of curiosity, wonder, and quiet anticipation. The future is not a distant world. It is unfolding in every breath, every decision, every moment of awareness. Humanity is evolving. Technology is expanding. Cultures are blending. Knowledge is growing. And through it all, the search for meaning continues, adapting, transforming, deepening. Picture yourself standing at the edge of a vast open field, under a sky filled with gentle shifting colors. The air carries a sense of possibility. The ground beneath your feet feels steady, but there is something new in the wind. A sense that humanity is entering a chapter unlike any before. A time when the mind, once shaped by survival and ritual and philosophy, must now adapt to a world filled with infinite information, accelerating technology, and global connection. The question becomes, how will meaning evolve in such a world? To imagine this, take a slow breath. Let your awareness widen. Feel yourself standing on the threshold of tomorrow. In the future, meaning may arise not only from tradition or belief, but from a deeper understanding of consciousness itself. For thousands of years, humans have wondered what the mind is, what awareness is, what the self truly means. Now, neuroscience, psychology, and philosophy are beginning to unravel these mysteries with unprecedented clarity. Imagine a scientist studying the neural patterns of joy, purpose, intuition, and connection. Their work reveals how purpose strengthens certain pathways, how compassion lights up emotional regions, how awe expands networks associated with perception and insight. Meaning becomes not only an emotional or spiritual experience, but a recognized part of human biology. In the future, people may understand themselves with a clarity previous generations could only dream of. Yet knowledge alone will not answer everything. For even as science explains the mechanisms of meaning, the mystery of consciousness will remain. Picture yourself looking up at a sky full of stars, thousands of them, twinkling in the cool night. Even as humans learn more about the universe, the awe remains. The question remains. The sense that something vast is calling gently from far beyond ordinary experience. This cosmic wonder has always shaped meaning, and it will continue to do so. Technology will also transform meaning. Imagine a world where artificial intelligence helps people understand their emotions, analyze their values, and find paths that align with their deepest selves. A world where virtual environments allow people to explore inner landscapes, memories, and dreams. A world where people connect across cultures more easily than ever, sharing perspectives and stories that deepen understanding. But technology will also challenge meaning. It may pull people away from their inner world if they are not careful. It may create illusions of connection rather than genuine intimacy. It may increase comparison and distraction. The future will require intention, awareness, the ability to use technology without losing oneself in it. Imagine a person in the future placing the device aside, stepping onto a balcony, and breathing deeply beneath the quiet sky. Even in a highly technological world, humans will still need stillness. They will still need presence. They will still need the grounding sensation of being alive in a real body, in a real moment. Meaning will grow through this balance between the digital and the human, the external and the internal, the technological and the timeless. Global connection will also shape the future of meaning. Cultures blending, ideas mixing, narratives merging, people learning from each other's traditions, values, and histories. Imagine students in different parts of the world discussing the same questions of purpose through screens that allow them to see each other's faces. Imagine communities sharing rituals across distances, expanding the sense of belonging beyond borders. The future may bring a deeper, more interconnected meaning, a sense that humanity is one large community living on one fragile planet. A sense that the search for meaning is universal, shared, collective, that our stories intertwine more than we ever realized. Yet individuality will matter too. The future will encourage people to craft personal paths that resonate with their unique strengths, passions, and values. A future where meaning is not dictated but discovered, not inherited but shaped, not fixed but fluid. Imagine a young person in the future standing before a vast set of possibilities. They feel overwhelmed at first, but then they begin to sense the quiet truth that meaning is not found in endless choice. It is found in clarity, in self-awareness, in listening to the inner voice that whispers gently. That voice becomes more important than ever in a world filled with noise. The future may also deepen spiritual meaning, not through traditional forms alone, but through new experiences of connectedness. Imagine people exploring vast digital spaces that evoke awe, or meditating with technologies that amplify insight, or studying consciousness scientifically while still honoring its mystery. Spirituality will evolve, expanding into spaces where science and introspection meet. Humanity may come to see meaning as something universal, arising from consciousness itself, from the shared experience of being aware, alive, and connected to others. Now imagine standing atop a cliff in this future world. Below you stretches a landscape filled with forests, rivers, cities, and communities. Above you stretches a sky shimmering with distant galaxies. You feel the subtle vibration of life, both ancient and new, moving through you. You sense that meaning is not something to be found in one place. It is something woven into every moment of awareness, every act of compassion, every quiet breath. The future of meaning will be shaped by the same truths that guided early humans around ancient fires: connection, curiosity, wonder, reflection, creativity, resilience, and love. These truths do not fade with time. They evolve. They deepen. And as humanity moves into this future, each person will carry forward the threads of meaning that have shaped human life for thousands of years. Threads of story, identity, emotion, hope, and purpose. You stand on this horizon now, feeling the soft glow of what comes next. You sense that the journey of meaning does not end here. It continues through every generation, every life, every moment of awareness. It is an ongoing exploration, a quiet, eternal search for clarity, purpose, and peace. And now, gently, your journey moves toward its final chapter, a closing reflection that draws together everything you have explored, across history, across the mind, across the heart, into a soft, comforting understanding of your own search for meaning. Closing reflection. Imagine yourself returning gently from the long journey you have taken, from ancient fires and early questions, from rituals and stories, from philosophy, spirituality, psychology, and neuroscience, from the quiet valleys of emotion, from the rich tapestry of culture, from the heavy storms of crisis and the soft light of growth, from the creative spark of expression, from the complexities of modern life and the possibilities of the future. All of these landscapes have shaped the human search for meaning. And now you arrive at a quiet, open space where everything you have learned settles softly within you. Picture a calm night sky stretching overhead. The stars glow like small lanterns suspended in silence. The horizon is wide and gentle. A soft wind moves across the earth, carrying a sense of peace. You sit on a smooth stone, or perhaps a patch of quiet grass. The world feels still. The air feels warm. Your breath moves in slow, steady waves. You have arrived at a place of understanding. Meaning is not a single answer. It is not a destination. It is a thread that runs through every moment of your life. It appears in your curiosity, in your connections, in your challenges, in your creativity, and in your quiet reflections. It grows with you, changes with you, lives with you. Think now of the earliest humans gazing at the night sky, their hearts full of questions, their minds filled with awe. Their search for meaning was the beginning of yours. The wonder they felt still echoes in you. The yearning they held is part of your nature. You carry that ancient spark within you even now. Think of the communities who built rituals, told stories, and formed cultures that shaped their values and identities. Their efforts to understand the world built the foundation that you stand on. Their stories live within you in subtle ways, in the traditions you follow, in the values you hold, in the sense of belonging you feel when you stand with others. Think of the philosophers who walked through forests, marketplaces, and deserts, asking deep questions. Their reflections taught humanity to understand itself through thought, awareness, and inquiry. Their wisdom resonates in your own moments of introspection, when you pause to ask who you are and where you are heading. Think of the spiritual seekers who looked inward and upward, searching for connection to something larger than themselves. They discovered stillness, compassion, and presence. Their insights shape the emotional landscapes that comfort people even today. The quiet peace you sometimes feel in silence or beauty is part of their legacy. Think of the psychologists and scientists who studied the mind and brain. They revealed how purpose activates your emotions, influences your behavior, and shapes your well-being. Their discoveries help you understand why meaning feels soothing, grounding, and clarifying. Think of the artists, musicians, and storytellers who shaped expression into something beautiful. Their creativity taught the world that meaning can be created with the hands, the voice, the imagination. Every moment of inspiration you feel is a continuation of their path. And think of the modern world, bright, fast, full of possibility and complexity. It offers many paths to meaning as long as you stay connected to yourself, your values, your relationships, your inner voice. Meaning in the modern world is found not by racing forward, but by choosing what truly matters to you. Finally, think of the future, a horizon shaped by curiosity, connection, and an ever-deepening understanding of consciousness. A future where meaning may become clearer as people understand themselves more deeply. A future where your own sense of purpose will evolve with time, experience, and awareness. Now imagine placing a hand over your heart. Feel its rhythm, its quiet, steady presence. This rhythm is the backdrop of your entire existence, a reminder that you are here, alive, aware, capable of shaping meaning through the way you live, love, learn, and grow. Meaning is not hidden somewhere far away. It is already within you. It appears when you act with compassion, when you pursue what excites you, when you overcome what challenges you, when you create, when you rest, when you reflect, when you connect with others, when you feel wonder at the world. when you notice the beauty in small, fleeting moments. You have walked through a long story, a story that mirrors the entire human journey, a story that belongs to everyone, yet feels deeply personal. You are part of an ancient lineage of seekers, those who looked toward the stars, toward one another, and toward their own minds in search of purpose. And now, as this journey closes, imagine the night growing even softer, the stars glowing more gently, the wind slowing to a whisper, your body resting deeply, your mind unwinding. You feel a sense of comfort in knowing that meaning is not something you must chase. It is something you create through awareness, connection, and presence. You can rest now with a full, calm understanding. The search for meaning is not a burden. It is a companion, a quiet guide that walks with you through every season of your life.